So we were just having a conversation about my lighting today because neither one of us can figure out why the background is so yellow and dark. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting in the dark, illuminated by a torch. That's it.
Yeah, I'll be pulling crap out from behind the wall.
Anyway, welcome to Monday, week 2 of our 31 Days of August challenge.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised we've been able to keep it going for 8 days. You know, we've got how many more to go? 20 something more to go.
Yeah. Well, we're getting there. We're doing good.
But the fact that we've made it 8 days, right, with busy schedules, right, and meetings and things like that, does go to show that if you have a 3 or 4 or 5 day conference or event, it is completely possible to go live once a day.
I think it's having that mental attitude of I'm blocking that time and it's fixed.
Yes.
And that's it. And then you work around it. If you kind of say, if you're really, really busy and keep going, well, I've got to be doing, I really ought to do this, you won't get to do it because there will always be something bothering you. But if you say this is fixed time, this is the time I've allocated, then it's part of your calendar, it's part of your activity, it is possible.
Yeah. Well, and even if you do on one occasion have to do it at a different time, like there was one we did for us that was in the afternoon. For my afternoon. You're late night.
You're after. Yeah. Well, we nearly did. Anyway, yeah. So it is possible. You have to excuse me. My arm today is being a little bit more, my shoulder rather, a little more aggravating than usual.
Oh yeah.
I've had a condition. I am. Okay. As long as it's not arthritis. Anyway, it's aggravating. It's not a rotator cuff, but it's a muscle or tendon that's playing up. So I don't have a weird disease that makes me twitch. It's just
people will just think you're warming up for tennis later.
I hope so. I do.
But today we're talking about something we're going to talk about something that I know very, very well, but something that is very near and dear to your heart. And you are like if I have questions about Twitter, I go to you.
Yes. I'm not saying I'm an absolute guru or expert. It's just that I have experience of it and I use it a lot. I'm scheduling tweets every 45 minutes for as long as, and I try and fill the schedules as much as I can. So yeah, Twitter, very effective platform, really, really good. Yeah, there's a lot of great features on Twitter these days.
And so, and I like the way you laid this out today, right? We're going to walk through the different segments of Twitter, right? So first up, we're going to hit the profile. When a conference, event, association, whoever it is, happens to be building their profile, what are some of the things that these organizations, or even me, right, should do with my Twitter profile to make it the best it can be?
Okay, so these are inspirations. I'm not going to go into great depth because people can explore things in their own time, and we don't want to make this last for like forever. Okay, so let's start off with the profile and the header image. This is actually called the cover image. So on your when you're on twitter.com and you're looking at somebody's profile, the cover image is the big image at the top. And that should be, if you can design it for 1500 pixels wide by 500 deep.
And to make it easy, if you use canva.com, you can they've actually got the right sizing in there. You can just go in there and click Twitter profile and then drag a picture into it, and it'll make sure that it is sized correctly and is a JPEG and everything it needs to be.
Sure. I think there is actually there is a file size that you can't go over, which I think is it's something like 15 megabytes or something. I mean, don't upload 2 megabytes.
Yeah,
for the little tiny profile one, and the larger one is I don't know. You shouldn't actually be uploading to anywhere files that are measured in megabytes because you're doing it wrong. So that's just it. Another thing about this image, this cover image, is if you're going to put text in it, make it readable, not shrunk down tiny text, and only tiny amounts of text, hardly any text.
Like our event is amazing. That's enough.
Yeah. And also, if you can, put your own logo in there. It's all part of the branding thing, which I'll expand on a bit later on. But if you put your logo either for your personal brand or your company brand, it's a good idea because people can instantly match up the account with what these days with everybody having the word event in their Twitter profile. It can be difficult at times because some of them would be event underscore something, or it's all mixed capitals, title case. It gets a bit weird. So make it easy for people to identify the correct account. So yeah, a little bit logo in there if you can.
Yeah, and then profile images. If correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if it's a person, make it a nice picture, not a cropped picture of you at a wedding with your arm around somebody, right? And then if you're an organization, that's another place where you can use whatever your organization uses for an icon.
Exactly. So if it's going to be you, make sure it's a plain background so it's not overly complicated because when it gets shrunk down, detail is going to be lost. It's 400 by 400 pixels. It's always a square. 400 by 400 is best. It can be shrunk down, but you're right. It's in the profile, the little round thing that goes just slightly overlaps the cover image, and it also goes against your tweets.
Yes.
So it's actually a great, if you're a company, it's a great place to put the logo because then when you tweet, your logo's there, your tweet's there. And it works really well like that.
And for those who don't, know, excuse me, how to use a photo editing program or anything like that. Again, I fall back to canva.com because Canva's free. And for doing things like, cropping, dropping an image into a square box or doing a Twitter header, it is by far the easiest platform to use.
Yeah. If Canva has the templates, is set up, is ready to go. Obviously, because Twitter is a platform that everybody loves to use, so it makes sense.
Let's talk about the other part of the profile, which is the link, right? I know that you're not a big fan of Linktree, but
well, it has its place. Linktree has its place. So to start off with, a link in the profile. All right. I'm finding so many companies, individuals who've got really good branding, they don't put a link in. Now, this is why it's important. So you've done a bunch of really great tweets and somebody wants to, like yourself, you've made tweet about some event you've put on and people going, oh, this is really great. I really wouldn't mind finding out more about this company. No URL. There's no link. There's no way of linking that account to the company website or anything like that. It's just not there. So it becomes a dead end.
Yeah, and I've actually run into a few people that have done that lately. It's kind of weird.
I'm sure there's maybe a weird fad about it, but I know I just think if you're trying to attract people to come and find out what you do, the URL, the link in your profile, has to be there. And just a quick switch on that: the amount of websites that I come across that don't have the Twitter little icon, the little circular thing, so they can go from the website to the Twitter account, it's just not there.
And that's driving me nuts lately.
And I'll tell you what's even more nuts is if they're using something like the Yoast plugin, where they've actually gone to the bother of typing in the Twitter account information. So the website knows it's got it. And if I look at the code for the web page, I can see the open graph and the Twitter card information that says there is an account for this website. But there's no buttons, no links, no nothing on the website. What the? Please stop it.
But here's a reason why people might want to do that, even if they have 5 Twitter followers, right? There are times when I will stumble upon a website and I don't have time to save it in my normal way that I save things. And I see like that they have a Twitter account. I will just hit it and click follow because then it reminds me that they exist.
Yeah. And also you can, with Twitter, it's really powerful with its list feature, which we'll do another episode. This is having lists, maintain lists, is a little extra that I find really useful, but we'll come back to it. Okay, so you've got a link. Linktree is really popular.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, Linktree is one link that you can have in an Instagram bio, a Twitter bio, whatever, that takes you to a pre-built custom page that has all of your links on it. It can have text and images and other things like that, but primarily You're sharing
Yeah.
all of your other links in one link.
But I think using it only as because there is no other way of doing it. If you've got a website, whether it's WordPress, which is ideal, or anything else, by linking directly to your website, you can actually link to a page on your website that can then list everything where you are.
Yes.
Which means they've come to your website and they can see other things you do, like a newsletter, maybe highlight a really great post that you want everybody to look at, maybe show a video. They can land on that page and they can stay on the website. If you do it to Linktree, all they can go to is the links that you've put on, and some people don't put on that. Why link to the website from Linktree when you could have actually linked to the website in the first place?
I
have questions.
Yeah. but I have questions as well, because now we're going to go, once you move past the profile, and everyone should always remember done is better than perfect too. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before you start doing things. Just do.
No, it's not set in stone. So you can actually just do it, get it out there. And then when you find that you need to refine it in some way, for instance, if you want to change the hashtags in your profile text, you can come back and change it.
Yep. And for a lot of organizations that have Twitter accounts, a lot of times what we'll recommend is during the year, they have a link to a conference homepage, the association home, whatever it happens to be. But when it's registration opens up, you can put the registration URL in your profile, whatever it happens to be. You can send people wherever you want them.
Exactly. And also, if your conference or event has a set hashtag to follow, if you look back to, when was it, February for IMEX?
Yes.
It was,
something like that. It's not
something
February.
like that.
April.
They had a hashtag of IMEX 2022.
Actually, every organization should have a hashtag. Every company should have a hashtag.
Only if your conference or event is sharing content and you want everybody to track it. We'll come to hashtags in a moment, because we're going to talk about tweeting, and it's got hashtags. There's do's and don'ts regarding hashtags. But
let's, because we're going to segue into, let's just do hashtags and then we'll go back up.
Okay, well, hashtags can go into your profile. So if anybody is doing a search using hashtags, then your profile should come up. So again, if you're attending an event and say, we are such and such a service, where you can find us at hashtag IMEX 2022, hashtag eventprofs, meeting profs, whatever. So when there's a search, it will come up. It should be listed. I can't say how the logarithm works, so I don't know how high up it would be, but you should be included using that hashtag. The only thing is with hashtags, which applies to tweeting, which we'll come to, is don't invent a new one if you can help it. You should do if you're doing a conference or event and you want those attendees to follow the latest accounts. But if you're tweeting to the Twitterati in general, then creating your own hashtag means nobody else is looking for it, which means nobody's going to see it.
That is actually a very if you, for your conference or event, if your conference is, let's say you're the International Sheep Shearing Association, that's ISS, right? So your conference hashtag might be ISS 2023, whatever. But on a daily basis, you should just be tweeting hashtag sheep shearing.
Yeah, so you should use established known hashtags where possible, because I say, if you create a new one, nobody else is going to know about it unless you tell them. And then, but for conference events, yes. General everyday tweeting, no.
Yes, but now what about? So we kind of skipped ahead, right? So we went to hashtags, which are part of tweets. So now we can loop back to tweeting. Tell me some of your strategies for when and how and what to tweet.
Okay, we can look at this two ways.
By the way, it's been a decade and I still hate the word tweet.
Really?
Yeah.
It does. It is a rather kind of like, I'm only 12 and I'm going to talk about it.
And I love Twitter, but I hate the word tweet.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so there's an argument. Well, two arguments maybe. tweet at specific times when you know your audience is online using Twitter, or tweeting all the time, regardless. How do you feel about it?
Both work.
They both work. Now it depends on your intent. If you are a bit, if it's like one, if you're in a small business or it's just you, you may not have time to interact with Twitter. You know, answering messages, tweeting new stuff, and having that online conversation type thing. So you are probably going to be at specific times. For myself with Event Planner News, I've set we'll come to tools later on, but I use Buffer, and I've set up a queue that will tweet if there's content in it every 45 minutes, because I have no idea, and I really don't care that much, when people are going to be online looking at my tweets. Because it could be, the thing about Twitter is that it can be used on a phone, and you might have a spare 5 minutes, and you think, oh no, I'll just check out Twitter, see what's going on. And I can catch those people by tweeting every 45 minutes.
If you only tweet once a day at 3 p.m., and I only check Twitter every night at 11 p.m., we are never going to meet.
No. And
unless people are sharing, right? But I mean, that just from a,
this is the thing.
You need to be tweeting all the time.
I'm tweeting out things that other people have done with Event Planner News. I'm discovering great content that people really ought to know about. So I'm kind of like distributing news. So I feel that I should be doing it on a really, really regular basis. Now, as an individual, and if you're tweeting from an event, then yes, you are going to be scheduled times, because the event or the conference opens at a certain time, closes at a certain time. So there's only so much you can tweet. So it really depends on the intent. But it's important to remember that tweets have a very short, what did I call it? Half-life.
Yeah, no, and they do the half-life or the shelf life, whatever we're going to call it, on a tweet. So, so I work with an organization that for the longest time, the lady didn't want to annoy people, so they only tweeted at most once a day, but usually like 3 times a week, which meant you're nothing.
This is it. So the current estimate of a tweet, so a tweet is estimated to have a half-life of about 20 minutes. What that means is going to reach its maximum amount of views within those first 20 minutes. So it's so easy for people to miss it if you're only doing it once or maybe a few times a day.
Oh yeah, I always think of Twitter as Niagara Falls, right? It's huge amounts of data coming over every second. So if you want to be in the consciousness, you have to be out there quite often, which is why, tools make a really great addition to anyone's arsenal.
Yeah.
Because the tools allow you to put all your tweets in at one time in one place, and then they will go out automatically.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a really busy person, you can use a tool to make sure that you're tweeting often. And we'll come to tools because there are certain catches you've got to be careful of. Okay. When it comes to a tweet, images perform really well. When I say perform, you get more views.
And they're always something I forget, right? Like I tweet all the time, right? I'm whatever, sharing stuff all the time. I always forget to do image only tweets. Or even include an image.
It should be including an image, because that gives anybody who's maybe not got the bandwidth and they can't download images, they're going to see the text version. I do that with quotes. It works beautifully. In fact, quotes perform really well in the way of views. So, so include an image. I mean, go to Pixabay or use Canva to just create a quick image. Easily done.
Yeah, and I think, when you're creating an image, like, and a lot of conferences do it now, and I love it. I don't think it's anything that could be oversaturated, but they go on a tool like Canva and they create a card for each, or an image for each one of their speakers, for each one of their sponsors, for each one of their, whoever it happens to be, so that they can include that, and I think that's awesome, right?
It's a brilliant thing to do. Just say, here's today's speaker, and do a specific image just for that. Make sure the image is 1200 pixels by 675 pixels. That is the current size for images for a tweet, and I find that works really well for LinkedIn and for Facebook. It's like a good middle ground for all the different platforms out there.
And I hate the fact that they're all different.
Well, this is, as I say, it's a middle ground. But here's one secret that I do. I make sure that the important part of the image, which might be a text or an illustration, whatever, is not up to the edges. You come in a bit, because sometimes images can get cropped, and so the most important part of the image might be left off. So always come in a little bit, yeah.
Which is why never be text heavy if it gets cropped anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh yeah, so the last thing about hashtags: use 3.
No more
I
than
think no more than 3, because I believe 3 is like the optimal number. Any more than that, and then it doesn't matter, and you're taking away space for typing text.
absolutely down with that. But all right, tool.
Tools.
Hashtags and posting. You and I are both massive fans of Buffer.
Okay, before we get to Buffer, let's talk about let's do Buffer. Buffer's brilliant. I love Buffer. It's if anybody from Buffer's listening, I love you guys. It's brilliant. Okay, so Buffer allows you. Okay, I'm using the free version. Don't care admitting it. I use the free version because it suits me down to the ground.
Yep. Whereas I have a ton of accounts that I have to manage, so I use the pro version.
Brilliant. Whatever works for you. Yeah, whatever works. So with Buffer, let's quickly explain. Is with I'm using the I'm on Firefox, and I've got the plugin for Buffer. So if I see a page I wish to tweet out, I can click on the add-on, the little funny little symbol, and I can't describe it. It's like a stack of documents. Anyway, you click on that, and it brings up the tweet, and it fills in for the URL and the title of the page. You can then type in some meaningful text, or you can replace it, but it does a short version of the URL for you, so you don't have a long URL, like www. whatever. It says bit.ly or something like that. And then you can just leave a comment, add something extra, or just do as is. And it will also give you a selection of images you can choose from at the bottom.
And then you tweet it out.
And then you can, but it goes to your queue on Buffer, and Buffer will then tweet it according to your schedule, and you can set the schedule up to be however you want, Monday to Sunday, and you can change the hours to whatever you want. Actually, setting the schedule up is really, really easy.
Well, and you do it every 45 minutes, right?
I do, because as explained, I don't want anybody to miss anything.
Whereas I do 5 times per day, right? So that shows you that you can get very specific, right? Or mine is a little bit more general. I just say it says how many times per day, and I say 5.
Well, it depends, on your intent and your purpose and all that sort of thing. So Buffer, as I say, allows you to set up a schedule, and when the time matches your schedule, the tweet will be automatically posted for you to Twitter with the text and the hashtags and the image that you've selected.
And if breaking news comes in, right? Let's say you announced this amazing keynote. In Buffer, you can also do share now or share next.
You can also, this is really, really useful, because I have some preset ones that I don't mind sharing out. The same thing. So, for example, I've got a press release center where you can download and look at press releases that I've received. I can retweet that. So you go into your schedule and you look at sent posts. You can scroll down to the one you want, and you can then re-add it to your queue without even having to edit it.
Yeah. Which is clever.
Very clever indeed. But then if you want to edit it, you can. Now, I'm on the free version, which allows me to add up to 10 at a time. And the reason why it works for me is because I'm only sharing fresh stuff. As soon as I find a fresh post that I think is interesting to people, I can share it.
Whereas for me, mine is more general things that I come across on the web and I think are interesting, but they're not necessarily the freshest things, right? Because I'm looking all over the internet. So it honestly, something that I share might be a year old or whatever, having it go out today or tomorrow doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you're sharing something that's just appealed to you, general interest.
Yeah,
Age
and I
doesn't
think,
matter.
and on the pro version I'm on, I think I can share up to 50 at a time.
Yeah, the pro plans are really cool, really
Yeah,
cool.
but for you, because you're sharing things that are so fresh anyway, sharing up to 50 at a time doesn't make any sense.
No, because that would be like sharing like a couple of weeks in advance, and by then everything will be stale and probably not interesting.
Yeah.
But also the other thing is, this is one of the gotchas I mentioned earlier. What happens if you schedule a post about something, right, and then all of a sudden it, for example, you tweet something and then there's a disaster, right? You're tweeting about something,
The
then a
joys of air
disaster happens.
travel, and then there's a massive air crash.
Exactly. Your tweet might be seen as totally inappropriate.
You can stop it.
Not only can stop it, but the thing is, if you schedule that far ahead and you forget it's there, then you're going to tweet something that's inappropriate. People won't like it. You're going to
Happens
lose
all.
followers, and your reputation goes down the drain. So, by keeping the amount of tweets you schedule to quite low, you can actually then it makes it easier to sort it out and be aware of it. I like that.
Yeah, true. But so we've covered the main things, right? We've covered, hashtags, tweeting, the tools. And I know,
But
and there are other
there's still
tools that work similar to Buffer. There's TweetDeck and Hootsuite, and
well, TweetDeck's one of my favourite, I must say, and it does both. Hootsuite and TweetDeck do have scheduling. However, I feel that they're more difficult to use than they should be.
yeah, and with Buffer, by the way, it's not only Twitter. You can put all of your social accounts in there. So, for example, you can put in a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn page, Facebook group, Facebook personal. You can put in your Twitter account. You can put in Instagram. You can put in so you can actually do all of your social media scheduling for your
Yeah,
conference or event, whatever it happens to be, from one dashboard.
it's like a control panel for your social media for the rest of us,
Yes.
where there's more professional ones do a heck of a lot more, but you're paying an awful lot more.
Yeah, and I've used Buffer now for I'm like you, I've used it for years. And I have tried, other ones, right? So for example, I'm a big fan of if I see a new tool, I will give it a try just to so I can speak to it, right? Was it easy?
Yeah.
Was it hard? There is nothing that compares to Buffer.
No, I think it's one of the most it's one of the best tools out there for the price range. It really is. It's really, really
It
cool.
truly is.
Yeah.
But other tips, because I know we're coming up now on almost 30 minutes, and
Okay. So these are just generalized tips that from experience. Okay. So branding. Please don't make life difficult for other people where your cover image and your profile image and everything else you share are all mixed matched. You really would like to have your cover image and profile matching, maybe the company logo, the name of your account. Try and make it as close to your brand name or company name as you can. There's a lot of companies that will go put little extra words in front or behind just to make it work. Yes.
I got something
Oh, yes.
I can add to the discussion.
Go, go, go.
Also, uh, don't if you are a conference or an event, don't put the year. If you are the International Sheep Shearing Association, ISS, right, and you add 2022 to your profile name, right, if that's your account, you have to start a new account the following year and build up all of those followers again.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah.
And at the beginning of Twitter, right, when for everybody rushed to do annual, and then we all kind of sat back and went, we had 5,000 followers, and now we got to go back and start from scratch.
Yeah. You know, that money we invested in getting our brand known, we got to do it all over again. Yeah. So really, that was my second other tip, which is actually put your Twitter account. Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, make sure that you try and match everything up to make life easy when it comes to people finding you.
Yeah.
Again, because of what I do, I look at an awful lot of websites and I go looking at Twitter profiles. And sometimes just to try and match up accounts to say, is this them or is it somebody else? Because the
Sometimes,
logo's slightly different and it could be somebody else. And yeah,
yeah.
make life easier for your followers to find you and track you. So,
And then
and
I love your next point, and which is the watch the people that follow you, looking for you to follow back, and then they just unfollow you because they were just looking to grab it.
I've had that so many times that I now purposely, if I get notification such and such has followed you, I will wait anything up to an hour or two just to see if they're still around.
I actually don't. And here's another thing, right? Especially if you're an organization, following people back is not mission critical, right? So I go into my account like I really only follow people now, and this is horrible, and I should look closer because I'm sure there are a lot of wonderful people that
Yeah,
follow me that I'm not following, but I'm looking for people that are grabbing my attention. Right, the
yeah.
people that I think are going to make my life a little better. So, but if you're just an organization and you're tweeting out, stuff about a conference and things like that, following people back really isn't that important.
It's kind of polite in a way, but then you've got to make sure that you're not filling up your timeline with useless stuff that you don't need.
Exactly.
And
And
it
especially again, if you're an organization, it is not mission critical. It's
and also if you're being followed by somebody who does plumbing, it might be they've got a personal interest or some kind of interest in your conference or event, but you don't have to follow them back because they're a plumber who wants. You may not want to see that sort of
right.
thing.
It just doesn't.
Distraction. Yeah. So, oh, the only thing is, I think we've mentioned it before, was please put your Twitter account on your website and don't be silly and just, and put it somewhere where it's easily found at the
Yeah.
top of the page, in the middle of the page, and at the bottom of the page. Make the icons large as you dare. Don't hide them when they get covered up by this site uses cookies. Do you accept or decline?
Yeah, and I'm okay with top or bottom. Like I agree with you, it should be in both places. But if it can't, but if, for the designer has a vision, right? At least put it at the top or the bottom because
All
those are
right.
the two places most people are going to look for.
All right, before we get on to the last one, a little personal rant, right? Please don't do the forever scrolling web pages where you never get to the bottom, the infinite scroll, because if you put in your footer the important information like your social media accounts and your phone number and your address, because it's an infinite scrolling page, it's never found. You don't see it.
I freaking hate infinite scroll.
Yeah, and one day if they don't, if these people don't sort themselves out, I'm going to name and shame. Seriously, I would know, but
Okay,
is that
we're at 33 minutes.
all right? Okay, so the
What's the
last
final
last
tip? What's the final tip?
very final tip: be polite, be courteous, be helpful, be nice. Don't be a dick.
I was wondering if you're going to read all the way to the end.
I was.
Don't be an ass. It's
Yeah.
And please, 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 please add not only being polite, but check shit before you share it.
Oh yeah. I
You know,
mean, we yeah.
don't don't be the guy, and it doesn't, I know everyone's thinking that I'm talking about politics, and of course I am talking about politics, but also with, you know, we're in the meetings and events world, travel's a part of that. So, you know, just verify your facts before you
The
share
thing
them.
is, if you blindly share something because you see everybody else doing it, doesn't make it right. And if you get called out on it, if somebody says, "Oh, where did you find this out? How do you know it's true?" You're going to sit there and go, "Oh, bugger! I have no
Yeah,
idea. I've caught
it can
out. I
really
don't know
hurt
what
a
to
brand.
do."
It can hurt a
Yeah,
brand.
it can. It can. So if you are going to share something you think is important, just double check it a little bit. Just make sure it's
Yeah, so
okay.
many tweets go out from brands, and I will literally be looking and going, 4 people can approve that.
Yeah.
Right. It went through a process, and you're like, I cannot believe they did that.
Wasn't it recently? They were sharing images from the space telescope, saying,
Oh,
"Look at this!
Rico.
Look at." It was a brilliant picture of like a newly discovered galaxy. It was bright and colourful. It looked amazing, and everybody's raving over it. Then a few days later, no, it's a picture of a chorizo.
I love
How
that.
crazy!
And that's on the funny side, right? However, there are, Dove, the I don't know if
Yeah,
you have them in the UK. I never
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah,
but their cosmetics or soap and things like that. They
yeah.
tweet inappropriate things all the time, and I just can't believe that. Just Google that, by the way, Dove social media, and you'll see.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't mean any harm by what they're tweeting, but it causes harm, right? It is horrible. Me on the outside reading it, go, what the? So,
Unless, of course,
thank you for retweeting.
unless there's some social media manager out there working for Darfur or whatever, who's just thinking, if we purposefully mess this up, just imagine the publicity we're going to get.
Well,
Brilliant.
how can I drop our stock price 50% in 4 minutes?
Yeah. Well, remember what they say, no such thing as bad publicity.
Oh yeah, there is.
Well, maybe in Dove's case, maybe, but in general,
But all right, so I think we've hit, I think we've hit all the high points, right? Make sure your profile's up to date, how
yeah.
to tweet, the tools, and don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
So I think that brings us to a close.
Is there any comments or anything else coming?
Yeah, we're all good, man.
That's a shame because my mum said she would actually come in and have a look and then maybe leave a comment. So that's a shame. Never mind. Next time.
And I gotta go. I think later today. I have many meetings this morning, but as soon as that's done, I got to figure out why I look like I'm in a sandstorm.
Yeah. Yeah. You
It's
need to sort out that light. And same as me, I needed some forward front lights. We
well,
did a review yesterday about things we have done right and we've done wrong and all that sort of thing. Episode number 7. But things we've got to do is improve our lighting. I'm hoping the next few days to get some lights to sort it out because at the moment either looks like I don't know, it's like a nuclear explosion out there with a bright white light, or I've got bad suntan, or I don't
and
know.
we're having thunderstorms, right? So for it being 8 o'clock in the morning here, it is very dark outside, but
Yeah,
even at night, I never notice it. Like I'm like, it's like creepy color in here.
yeah.
All right. Anyway, all right.
Oh, before we go, so what are we talking about tomorrow? What's the next episode?
Oh dear, I've actually got to go and look that up.
Oh,
Ooh,
it's Cinco.
no microphones.
Cinco microphones.
Yes. So we are going to talk about, and again, these won't be the microphones that you're going to use for people on the podium or people up on stage, but these are for if you're recording live at your events. Perhaps you're getting testimonials, perhaps you're getting other things. Cinco microphones. We're going to talk about those and also the Rode Go,
Yes.
Rhodes version.
Really good for impromptu interviews. If you're on the show floor and you say, "Oh, there's such and such," I want to grab him for a quick chat. Put the microphones on, get your Zoom recorder out, and then capture it. Really good. Okay, so we can wrap up. So don't forget, everybody, come and visit us on Facebook at Event Plan News page, the Panama page, and the Bullet List group, and our YouTube channel.
You forgot Event Planner News.
Did
That's
I
you.
not say that first? I thought I said that first.
Did you? Maybe.
Have you had enough coffee?
I'm only on cup number 1.
Okay. Fair enough. Probably explains it. All right. Facebook, Event Plan News, Panama, and the Bullet List group, and on YouTube. Well, yes, we do have a website, as you keep pointing out.
Bullet-list.com.
That's your major contribution at the end of it. Okay. That's brilliant. Okay. Well, join us tomorrow where we talk about Cinco